Greetings all my comic book fans, this is Dante D bringing you another video, and today we're going to continue talking about affordable comics to add to your collection. Specifically, we're going to be looking at comic books that are part of mini and maxi series. Mini and maxi series that have had huge cultural impact in the comic book medium and really should be in your collection. So what I've done is I've gone into the old comic book vault and I've taken out some books that are part of mini and maxi series that I believe are really important and really should be part of any solid comic book collection. Now the criteria to make the list is the books had to be part of a story that were marketed as a limited series. So you're not going to be seeing any storylines from ongoing series such as Kraven's Last Hunt in Amazing Spider-Man or the Death in the Family from the Batman series. We're just going to be looking at limited series. So once again, as I always say in my videos, is that this is not a definitive list. I'm sure there are other mini and maxi series that are just as important to the medium as the ones that I've selected here. And I went into my collection and I only picked the ones that I felt were the most important. So I don't have every single mini and maxi series in my collection here. I just have the ones that I felt were most important. As always, if there are ones that either I didn't put in here or that I just simply don't have that you felt are really, really important, once again, let me know in the comments. Chances are I probably haven't even read it yet, and probably something that I need to check out. Okay, so let's get into this list. These comics are in no particular order. Just took them out, and here goes. So the first miniseries that I have in front of me here is Venom, the Lethal Protector #1. What is so significant about this miniseries? First of all, it's really awesome. It's a great read, great art, great story. Second of all, I believe this is the first Venom solo series. Back in the early 1990s, Venom was an extremely popular character, and I think Marvel kind of wanted to experiment a little bit with him by giving him his own miniseries. And this miniseries was a commercial success. Another miniseries succeeded this one not too long after. As I said, great read, great art, and this is still very relatively affordable. I believe I purchased this not too long ago, think about a few months ago, and I don't think I spent more than $20 US for the whole 6-issue run. And again, I specify US just because I live in Canada. Most of my comic book purchases are on eBay and they are in US dollars. So here are the other issues. So here's the #1 with the chromium cover. #2, 3. Yeah, who says this is 4? Who says that 90s comics aren't good? I mean, I absolutely love 90s comics. This is one of those 90s comics storylines that I absolutely love. Again, 90s comics are not worth much to collectors because they're not worth a lot of money, but to me they're worth a lot because I love the art and I love the stories. Again, I keep saying I have to do a video on just on 90s comics, and I promise I will get around to it. Okay, the next miniseries that I have on the list is a little bit of an exception in terms of affordability. I always have one or two exceptions on my list, and that is the Wolverine series. This is technically considered Wolverine Volume 1. This is work by Frank Miller, which will probably explain why it's a little bit more expensive. I actually just checked the going rate for this whole series on eBay right now, and again, prices always vary. But you're looking at an average right now, 1 to 4. This is May 2017. 1 to 4 at about $200 for $200 US around for all 4 of these issues here. Not surprising. This is a very noteworthy miniseries, and it came out in 1982. Again, Frank Miller work, and it is the first Wolverine solo series. I think that would explain why it's a little bit more expensive. That, and it is Frank Miller. Solid read, Very, very good. Art's great. The story's awesome, and it really kind of explores the complex character of Wolverine more in depth. This was came out at a time where Wolverine was really increasing in popularity. Again, 1982. I think he only debuted in comics in 1975, so he was still a relatively young character back then. And this is where they kind of took the first steps into further developing the Wolverine persona. So definitely worth it if you're looking to spend the extra cash. It definitely is a series that you need to have in your collection. This is definitely a must-have for any collection. There's issue number 1. There's number 2, number 3, number 4. Can't go wrong with this. And if you are a collector that is looking for financial gain, this again, you can't go wrong with this. This is definitely going up in value. Okay, so the next series that I have here continues to deal with Wolverine. It is Origin, which came out in 2001. You definitely need to have this. First off, if you're a huge Wolverine fan, this is a must-have for any huge Wolverine fan, and it's definitely a must-have for any comic book fan in general. The story is absolutely fabulous. This kind of takes a look at Wolverine's early life from when he was a child, before he lost his memory in the whole Weapon X experiment. If you've seen the first Wolverine movie, which came out, I believe, is like Wolverine Origins or something like that, that movie was loosely based on this story arc here, which lasts for 6 issues. So definitely need to have this one because it looks at Wolverine's origin, which before this point was kind of a huge secret. So yeah, definitely awesome. Looked up the price on eBay just recently, and again, this is May 2017. Not too expensive. You're looking at around $60 US for all 6 issues. And there's the first issue, second one, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now, not too long ago, I believe it was maybe two years ago, something like that, around 2014, maybe, they came out with an Origin 2, which is a continuation of this story here. Still pretty good read, but it, you can skip it. Definitely not a must-have. I mean, I have it, I like it, but definitely did not have as much of an impact on me as Origin, the first Origin series. Now, technically, I shouldn't even really be mentioning this one, but now that I'm on the topic of Wolverine, I thought I should just kind of mention this to you in case you were a huge Wolverine fan. I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but this is the Weapon X series, and again, the reason why I'm not going to spend too much time on it is because it's not really a mini series. It is a story arc that appeared in Marvel Comics Presents. This is a huge story arc. It lasted for, I don't know, something like 14 issues or something like that. And it's Barry Windsor Smith art, which is really, really great. Not too expensive, but again, I just wanted to kind of mention this because this looks at Wolverine when he was in that Weapon X, when he was part of the Weapon X experiment. And if you are a huge Wolverine fan, this is a must-have. But again, don't want to spend too much time on this just because it is technically not a mini-series. Okay, and the next series that I have here, which I believe is the last Wolverine-related series that I have on this list. All these Wolverine miniseries are back-to-back just because all my Wolverine stuff is in one section in my collection. But anyhow, I don't have too many newer comics in this list, but this one I just had to include because I thought it was so groundbreaking, and that is the Death of Wolverine. And before you ask, this is not a marketing scheme. Wolverine actually does die in this series. I was actually really amazed to see that he actually did die. This is a great series. I mean, I was shocked when I read this, and if you're a Wolverine fan or a comics fan in general, you need to have this in your collection. It only came out a few years ago, year and a half, 2 years ago, something like that. And again, it's 2017 at the time this video is being made. And I went on eBay, still very relatively affordable. It's a 4-issue series, and the listing that I saw was for $35 US, so very, very affordable, and you definitely need to pick this up. Now, the only thing is, if you are going to pick this up, I would recommend that you read the 3 Months to Die storyline in the Wolverine ongoing series. It's kind of a lead up to this, and yeah, but I mean, you don't need to read it. You definitely could just pick this up and start reading it. If you are going to skip over the 3 Months to Die storyline, the only thing you really need to know is that Wolverine loses his healing factor. When this story starts, Wolverine does not have his healing factor, so that's the only important thing that you need to know. But again, pick it up. Great art, great story. You will not be disappointed with this, and again, it's very, very affordable at this time. There's the first issue, second, third, and fourth. This one here kind of reminds me of this cover here. I know they kind of make covers like this all the time in comics, but this kind of reminds me of Michelangelo's Pietà, where the Mary's holding Jesus. You probably know it if you Google the Pietà, but I know I always like seeing when comic book artists do a swipe of some sort of famous painting or sculpture or something. So, but yeah, Death of Wolverine. Okay, at this point, I just kind of want to temporarily shift focus to DC. Everything I've had on the list up until now is Marvel. I do have some more Marvel stuff on the list, but I just want to kind of look a little bit at some DC stuff. I just don't want you to think I have everything Marvel. So the next thing I have on the list is Watchmen. Now, as you can tell, these are not the single issues of Watchmen. Watchmen came out in 1986. It was a 12-issue series. I have here the trade paperback. Watchmen is one of those that I don't really care to have in single issue format. I didn't really want to drop the money on it because it is a little bit more expensive. I just looked at an eBay listing right now. You can get issues 1 to 12 right now for around $130 US dollars. So it is a little bit more expensive, but you are getting 12 issues. So I mean, I guess it kind of evens out. But I just never really had the desire to get the single issues because I've always had the trade. This is one of the first comics that I kind of ever read back when I was like 13, 14 years old, and I've had it all this time, and I absolutely love it. I cannot explain to you how important this comic is. I mean, at the top here, I don't know if you can see, but it says it's voted one of Time Magazine's 100 best novels. Like this book here, this series had such a huge impact, not only in huge cultural impact, not only in comics, but a huge cultural impact in the mainstream media as a whole. It really kind of examined those Cold War tensions that were so prevalent in the 1980s. And I mean, this is just a great story. It kind of takes the idea of what a Superman is, and sorry, not a Superman, a superhero. It takes the idea of what a superhero is and tears it apart. I mean, Alan Moore basically says a person who wears a costume is not sane. I mean, these people are not upstanding citizens. They have to have huge problems to want to put on a costume and do what they do, and that's kind of what this book does. I mean, it does a lot more than that. It's wonderful. So I cannot stress enough how important this is. If you're not going to buy the single issues, you need to at least get the trade paperback. This is a must-have for any comic collector, for any person who appreciates comic books. You need this. If you don't have it, go get it right now. Seriously. Okay, the next miniseries that I have on the list is as important as Watchmen, if not more. Well, probably not more important than Watchmen, but definitely as important, and that is Frank Miller's Dark Knight Returns. Again, as you can see, this is the trade paperback of The Dark Knight Returns. And again, I never bothered to get the single issues of The Dark Knight Returns, just because I have this. Actually, funny, cool little tidbit about me, actually, this is the first piece of comic book literature that I've ever owned. My parents bought this for me for Christmas back when I was 13 years old, and since I've had it, I've read it probably 10 times. absolutely love this storyline, and you need to have it. If you want to get the single issues, I just checked it on eBay. They're kind of issues 1 to 4 are going for about $130 US. Again, a little bit more expensive than most of the series that we have here, but definitely a must-have for any collector. You need to have this. This is probably the most important storyline that has ever been written in the history of comic books. That's not only my opinion. That is the opinion of many people. You can search it. It's on IGN's top list of top 10 graphic novels ever published. You need this. And the reason why it's really so important is because what Frank Miller did with this storyline was he started to shift, basically demanded that comic books be taken seriously, because before that they were, often dismissed as just children's stuff. But I mean, with this, Frank Miller proved that comic books can be not only for children, but mostly not for children. That's what this did. From this point forth, comic books became a lot darker. This is what often has been considered the start of the dark age of comics, which ultimately led to the comics book crash. But I mean, from this point forth, every single publisher tried to mimic Frank Miller's darker stories. I think they kind of missed the point, though, because a lot of the books published from this point forth were just blatantly violent without any reason. So I mean, they kind of missed the point. But anyway, definitely really important for any collection, and really important piece of comic book history right here. You need this. If you don't want to get the issues, get the trade paperback. You can get it for like probably $10, I'm sure. You need this. Go get it right now if you don't have it. Okay, so moving on from that interlude that had 2 graphic novels, we're going to shift back to single issue miniseries. The next one I have here is still DC. It is Frank Miller's Dark Knight Returns, or DK3. This is a continuation of the Dark Knight Returns 3. In between DK3 and the Dark Knight Returns, there is the Dark Knight Strikes Again, which was released in 2001. You can skip it though. I have it. I've read it. It's not really good. It was a critical failure. Critics just tore it apart. It was considered one of the worst graphic novels that ever published, actually. I think I remember reading on a list. But I can't comment too much about Dark Knight 3 because to be honest, I have not read it yet. I have them all up until issue 8, and I believe there's another issue that is coming out. And from what I read, it has been very well received generally by critics, and I'm really excited to see for myself how great this is. Again, these aren't really, I mean, I'm sure you can buy these as a set on eBay. I didn't really check what these are going for right now, but because these are still very relatively new, you probably could buy them in single issue format at your comic shop. I'm sure a lot of comic shops will probably even still have the first issue, which only came out about maybe 9 months ago. But yeah, definitely check it out. Just a word of caution, these do cost a little bit more than your standard comic book. Most comic books now cost between $2.99 and $3.99. These are about $5.99. I do not have the hardcovers. These are the soft covers. There are 2 editions that were released here. There are the hardcover and the softcover editions. The hardcover are a lot more expensive. They're for, I guess, your hardcore collectors, but I don't really care as long as I have the story, and I do here. So there's the first issue. There's the second one. Oops, there's the third. 4th, 5th, 6th, 7, 8, and 9, from what I'm told, will be released shortly. Okay, moving back to Marvel. Again, this is another newer series. Actually, not really that new, but still in the modern age. Okay, it's Avengers Vs X-Men. I Absolutely love this series. It is just fantastic, very, very entertaining. Now, it was not too well received by critics. I know it got a lot of mixed reviews, and I think the number one criticism that it got was that there were too many writers, too many artists working on a bunch of different issues. I think a lot of the critics would have preferred if the one writer and one artist were assigned to work on this series, but a bunch of different writers, a bunch of different artists. But overall, the art is still great in here, no matter who did the art. I think Romita did it. I know John Romita Jr. is one of them. There are a few. There's Romita, Andy Kubert. There are quite a few artists here, and but anyway, yeah, you need to pick this up. Very, very entertaining story, and I think you also have a death here. I know Professor X dies at the end of this series, I'm pretty sure. I'm sure he came back to life not too long after. I'm not entirely sure, but I personally really, really liked this series, and I thought it was really, really entertaining. You need to pick it up. Let me know in the comments what you thought of this. If you've already read this, let me know what you thought of it. I know a lot of people don't like it, but I personally liked it, and I feel that this is important to any collection. It is very cheap right now. Like I checked it on eBay, and the whole series 1 to 12 is going for under $50. Like some of them I saw even for under 30. So definitely a great read, and definitely awesome to have it in your collection. Nice addition to any collection. There's issue number 1, number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I just want to stop and talk about this one. I know the series as a whole didn't get a lot of love, but I know this issue in particular was very, very well received by critics. This is where Spider-Man has his glory. So, great cover too. I love that cover. It's just great. There's 10, 11, and finally 12 with Iron Man on the cover. Moving on to our next one, we're now coming to the last few series in our list here. The next one is a Marvel. It is Infinity Gauntlet, number 1 to 6. It is a 6-issue limited series, and it came out in the early 1990s, so at the height of comic book speculation. But just because it came out at the height of comic book speculation does not mean it is not good. If anything, this is probably one of the best limited series that Marvel has ever put out. I absolutely love it. It is so entertaining, and it is just a great story, great art as well. And right now it's still relatively cheap, but if you're going to rush to get any of the miniseries that I've listed in, here today, you need to rush to get this one, because for some reason the price of this series is increasing. I don't know why. Maybe you guys can kind of elaborate on that in the comments for me, but I saw this on eBay just now. It's still under $100. $100 US, under $100 US. Some are under 70 as well. But I remember when I bought this, which was maybe 2 years ago, I think I got the whole set for a little over $20. Now they're not. I have to tell you, they're not all in near mint condition, but they're probably mid grade. But yeah, I don't know why the price of this series is going up. So maybe you guys can elaborate a little bit on it. But you need to have this. One of the most memorable Marvel storylines, and this is right here a very, very important piece of Marvel Comics history, so you need to have this. I've only read it once, but I definitely will be reading it again. There's issue number, that's 2, 3, 4. It's a cool cover, I really like that cover, Thanos on it. There's 5. And 6. Now, of course, be careful if you're going to buy these. Trying to make sure you're getting a deal. I went into a comic book shop probably not too long ago, and I saw these being sold individually, and they were all like $20 each. I'm like, get out of here! Come on! Like, I think I understand that comic book shops need to make money too, but I think that's a little steep in my opinion. So yeah, Infinity Gauntlet. Pick it up. You need it. So the next two limited series are probably the most important limited series to the comic book medium, in my opinion. But I mean, if they're not important to the medium as a whole, they are definitely very, very important to the 1980s. They are two defining limited series of the 1980s. One of them here, I have here, is Marvel Secret Wars. This was just awesome. I loved reading this, and I definitely will read it again. You need to pick this up. One of the most iconic storylines of the 1980s, one of the most iconic limited series of the 1980s. You need this. Actually, really funny. This series got its name because of a survey that Mattel, the toy company that produces Barbie, did. They found out that children respond best to the words secret and wars. So Marvel took that information and named one of their series after some information that Mattel found, which is I thought was kind of interesting. So yeah, you really need to pick this up. Basically what happens in this series is most of the heroes and villains of the Marvel Universe are transferred to a planet called Battleworld, which is a planet that is created by a cosmic entity called the Beyonder. And he basically tells all the heroes and villains to duke it out and promises the victor whatever he or she desires. I'll let you read it and find out what happens, because that definitely interests some characters more than others. But yeah, you definitely need to pick it up. This is one of those more expensive limited series to have in your collection, and the only reason is really because of give me a second, this single issue right here. And as most of us know, this is when the alien symbiote bonds to Peter Parker and Spider-Man, and he becomes the basically the Black Spider-Man, right? Which is huge in the 1980s. One of the most memorable storylines from the 1980s is when Peter Parker becomes the Black Spider-Man, and that eventually gives birth to Venom. So that's why this is a little bit more expensive. Actually, when I purchased this, I purchased this one singly as part of a lot, and I got all these other ones together. So I purchased these all with the exception of number 8. If you want to get the whole series, it's probably going to run you about $200. But if you skip this one, you probably can get it for under $100. Let me know what you paid for it or what you're paying for it right now. But yeah, this is really the only one. And the one that I have here, this one, you probably still could get relatively cheaply if you get it in lower grade. Mine is a lower grade copy. I don't know if you can see, there's quite a significant spine roll there. But yeah, you just look out for a deal. I'm sure you'd be able to find it. So that's Secret Wars. Okay, lastly, we have what I believe is probably the most important limited series of the 1980s. Again, arguably. That would be Crisis on Infinite Earths, released by DC Comics, which is a 12-issue maxi series, debuted in the mid-1980s. And you need to have this in your collection just due to the fact that it is one of the most memorable and one of the most recognized limited series of the 1980s. Definitely need to pick this up. That being said, I have to admit, I'm reading this right now. I haven't gotten through it all yet, and I'm finding it a little difficult to follow. And I think the reason that I'm having such a difficult time following it is because the only DC character that I really follow religiously is Batman. I have other DC things in my collection, like I have some Suicide Squad, Flash, Aquaman, whatever. I have other DC things, but I'd have to say most of my collection is Marvel and then Batman. So there are characters in here, there are secondary and tertiary DC characters I had never even heard of. I didn't know who the heck they were. I didn't know what they were about. I don't know what's going on. So I get what's going on in the big picture, but definitely a little harder for me to get through, harder for me to follow. Kind of finding it a shorter read. But if you are more well-versed in the DC universe than I am, I think you'll enjoy this a lot more than I am. But just because I'm not following it as easily as other, say, hardcore DC fans, doesn't mean I'm not happy to have this. Very, very happy to have this in my collection, just because it is so iconic. This series also gave us two very important single issues. One is Crisis on Infinite Earths number 7, which is super iconic. Supergirl does die in this issue, apparently. I don't know, I haven't read this one yet, but apparently Supergirl dies in this. And this is so iconic just because it is very often considered to be the start of the quote-unquote dark age of comics, or the modern age of comics. This kind of depicts that shift to darker stories. Not too long after the release of this, we had Dark Knight Returns, Watchmen, and things got pretty dark from here on. So yeah, I mean, definitely one of the most iconic single issues of the 1980s as well. And then the next one we have here is Crisis on Infinite Earths number 8, which is the death of the Flash. I don't know which Flash it is. I know there have been like 3 different Flashes. I don't know which Flash it is. Have not read this one yet, but another very important single issue. You can currently get this whole series for less than the cost of Secret Wars, actually. I just looked it up on eBay, and it is currently going, one listing I saw was under $80 US. So, I mean, I think there were a couple that were under 100 as well. So, pick it up, because it is one of those iconic ones. Again, not the most enjoyable one for me, but still very, very happy to have it. And that's about it. That's the whole list of miniseries comics that I believe you should have in your collection. Until next time, this is Dante D signing off. Ciao.